Hello and welcome to the Real Life Sports Show. This podcast is for sports fans, whether you're playing it, interested in it, or looking to learn from high achievers. My name is Sam Adams. I'm known as the Real Life Coach. I'm a business owner and a life coach, and I work with sports professionals, athletes, coaches, and people in and around the industry. I help those people live more expansively, more authentically, so that they can enhance their performance, whether that's playing their game or living their real life. My background is in business. I've been in business for over 20 years in property. I've mentored and coached in that industry, and that led me into being a life coach. I'm super passionate about sports, and that's what led me to working in that industry and creating this podcast. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking to some amazing human beings, some elite athletes and people from that industry. We're going to be talking about the glory, the glamour, the achievements and the medals, but we're also going to go to the real life bit, behind the scenes, what it really takes to excel. We're going to talk about the guts, the determination, the grit and the grind. For you, the listener, you're going to get some great takeaways and insight, whether you're looking to achieve for yourself around your mindset or your personal development. This is the podcast for you. So if you enjoy the podcast, I'd love for you to leave me a 5-star review and any comment you have. So here we go, the Real Life Sports Show. Right, everybody, welcome. You are here with another episode in this new podcast, my new podcast called The Real Life Sports Show. This is just like when this lady popped up on Clubhouse, we'll probably tell you this story. She popped up in a room, I was talking about football, and I'm an Arsenal fan. And she popped up and I was just like, oh my God, yeah, I've got to ask her if she's going to come on my podcast. So I'm really delighted and happy to say she agreed. And I'm really happy to say that Katie Chapman is joining me today. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, very well. It's actually sunny today, so...
It's sunny in the rule of 6. Great.
Yeah, amazing. That's like, when the sun's out, we're just happier, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, to wake up to the sunshine, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I am definitely. So Katie Chapman, Arsenal, Chelsea legend, in my eyes anyway, and many other eyes, by the way. Former England footballer, Chelsea, Arsenal. I think you played at Charlton and
Fulham. And
yeah, you played for quite a long time, and you played mostly London clubs, is what I noticed. I didn't actually know you ever played for Charlton and Fulham. I just knew the Chelsea and Arsenal stuff, obviously, but maybe we'll get into some of that. But anyway, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I think it's nice to obviously talk about my experiences because I've retired now, so it's nice to sort of talk about my experiences in football.
Yeah, we'll probably come on to the retirement stuff and see how you're managing that because I'm a life coach to sports professionals, and some of the things that we get in discussions around is career coming to an end, whether that's through injury or through natural sort of, obviously, you're coming to the end of your career and how athletes manage that. So it'd be interesting to hear your experiences of that. But I guess always a good place to start is really at the beginning and, how you got into football and at what age did you first start kicking a ball around?
To be honest, you have no idea I ended up in football. I think just playing in the playground, to be honest with you. I danced from the age of 5. Then I got into swimming actually in primary school and started competing for the school. And then I ended up just playing football in the playground. I'm a twin, so there was 2 of us. And we sort of dominated the playground with the boys. Just joining in and playing because I was quite active anyway. And obviously football is one of the dominant sports in the playground. I think I just wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
So, started playing and sort of pretty quickly realised I had some sort of natural talent within that. And actually was lucky enough that in the school for PE, we had a coach come in to take a football lesson. Oh. And he was actually the manager, Jim Hicks, at Mill Lionesses at that point. So he actually ran the women's team. So I was then asked to join a girls' team, obviously, pretty quickly. Yeah. So from the age sort of 11, I started playing football, which is actually quite late when you consider these days how young girls are playing in the game. So it was quite late, but it progressed from there.
Was there a lot of, like, when obviously you had a lot of sort of natural sporting ability, and I think that's, certainly some of the athletes that I speak to and work with, there is always that prowess of a lot of sports you're pretty good at, and it sounds like you are no different. Was your twin quite sporty as well, or is?
Yeah, well, we played football together up until probably the age of 16, and then we sort of switched teams. I sort of moved on into the senior team, and she sort of stayed in the reserve team. But yeah, we played up to quite a point, really. But now she doesn't play at all. So
Yeah. Was it encouraged? I guess you in school, like before Jim came in and took your lessons, and just to play football with the boys and stuff like that, or was it? How was it for you back then?
No, it was always quite hard. I thought girls should never play football. That were the comments I got a lot of the times. Girls shouldn't play football. Should be there playing whatever, with skipping rope or whatever you should be doing. Hopscotch or that sort of stuff. But no, I mean, I enjoyed the physical part of the game, and I think that was, what it was, that competing, that challenging side of it, that sort of. And I think because there was two of us, it probably made it easier. I think if I stood alone, it might have been a bit more difficult. But I think because there was two of us, I sort of let a lot of the stuff go over my head and. Just miss a lot of it and just continue to play. So, but I know obviously there is still a lot of that going on these days when I speak to obviously primary school kids and stuff like that. And it's a shame that girls are still being told, you shouldn't be playing football, or the boys are dominating all that, or not allowing them to play. So it's quite sad to still hear that.
Yeah, it is. It's surprising. Like I'm a lot older than you, and I played football. I played in a girls' team outside of school. It wasn't in school at all. I didn't play in school at all. I did athletics, and I don't know how I even managed to find this club. Someone just said to me, "Oh, yeah, there's a girls' team. You can come play football." And it was just so rare. I mean, it was a joke, really. It was just hilarious what we used to do, and 8 of us in a car, bundled up to get to a match, wearing God knows what we had. The kit was just shambolic. But it was good fun, and the community feel of it was amazing. But it was certainly encouraged, and it was very, it wasn't encouraged at all. It was very difficult, and it saddens me. Like, I spoke to Jess Fishlock not that long ago. I had her on my other podcast, and she was talking about how difficult it was for her. And here we are in 2021, and actually we're still here, and we still got a long way to go with, girls and young women playing football, rugby, cricket even, which it's such a shame. And that's one of my passions, is really changing things for young girls, that it's okay to get sweaty, to get dirty, to get physical, just get out there and play some sport, and actually have the visibility of women's sport increase. Because right now it is shocking that, really statistically, globally, the amount of attention women get on sport is just, compared to the men, is just shocking. So it is quite sad. But I want to kind of maybe just divert really quickly, because I'm wondering if your role at Chelsea, because you're now an ambassador, right, for Chelsea, how does that role work, and what does that entail? Does that have anything to do with the visibility of the game and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do a lot. Obviously the primary school stuff for the women's game. A lot of getting into primary schools, inspirational speaking. It's funny because obviously I was the first female ambassador within the club, so there was obviously 4 male ambassadors. So I was the first one to obviously take that role, and it was seen as, how we're going to do this. But naturally, I'm just the female, and I'll do the same role as the males will do. So it took a little while to get into that. But I think now we're in it, I'm just treated as an ambassador. There's not, no male and female. It's just an ambassador. We do the same job, whether it be, signings at Stamford Bridge and stuff like that. So I'm now just put in as an ambassador, and to whatever event they want me to do, really. Obviously it's inspirational speaking to girls, and it's not just girls, it's boys as well. I think it's important that we don't just go just aim at a certain group of girls, and think it's important that we educate the boys as well in that side of it. And I think being a parent as well with 3 boys, I mean, my kids know no different, like they train. There's a girl that plays in Zachary's team who's 8, and he thinks nothing of it, and they train when they go training. There's loads of girls within the session that train with them, and they don't bat an eyelid of it. And I think that's hopefully what we're progressing to move forward.
Yeah, and it's that grassroots level though of education as well, isn't it? That, like you say, for you, your boys don't know any different. But sadly, that's not a case in a lot of households and a lot of grassroots pitches. It's like, girls shouldn't be playing football, and it's that education. And you're right. We don't. need to just get the message out to the girls. We need to get the message out to everyone that that's okay for girls to play sport, whether it's football or rugby or whatever.
The funny thing is one of my boys obviously played netball in school, and the same situation occurred. So he trained with the girls and that as a mixed group, but when it came to competing, he couldn't play in the games.
Right, yeah.
So I spoke to the teacher. I was like, hang on a minute, like I play football, and I've heard all my whole career girls shouldn't play football. Now you're telling me my son can't play netball. Like, it's just a sport, and we should be free to do whichever sport we choose to do, whatever that looks like.
Did you manage to overturn that?
No, I didn't. And then it's funny because they moved to secondary school and they don't actually play netball, they play basketball, the boys. That's really interesting. That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot to change within the whole process of the sports system. Like it's certain sports are very dominant to certain sexes, which
they are.
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing, isn't it, with football and rugby and cricket as well. They're seen as very male-dominated sports. Football's our national game. And the same, you're right, with netball, it is seen as a more female sport, isn't it? And does your son now play basketball?
He does, yeah. Right. It's funny, he was really good at netball, really good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a shame that he can't pursue something because, it's not a female sport.
And I'm not even sure how much male netball there is. I know there is some, but I don't know what the league is like or anything like that. So you've given me a little bit of a quest, actually. I'm going to find out a bit more about that because I like that idea. All right, cool. We'll come back a little bit. So you obviously, like I say, got into it when you was young. So where you got picked up then with Millwall because of Jim coming into school and doing the PE classes?
Oh, yeah, and he asked to go and meet to join, obviously, Millwall Lionesses, where I started in the under-12s. And progressed through the under-12s, under-14s, because they had a structure actually in place, because obviously Millwall Lionesses back then were one of the dominant teams, funny enough.
Were they actually part of main Millwall club back then? Oh, they still are? I don't know.
They were actually, so Millwall in the community. Yeah, so Jim used to work for Millwall in the community, same as some of the players as well that were in the team. It was always driven from the Den, funny enough.
Awesome.
So it's a good setup.
Yeah, that's because what we're talking about, what year was that roughly? Do you know roughly how long ago that was? Because I know you're late 30s, I think, aren't you?
Yeah, it was like probably about 93, something like that. 94.
Wow, really? Yeah, that's. And so what was the league like then? What was it like? Because obviously you progressed pretty quick, didn't you? You started playing really early on in the main team.
Yeah, obviously Arsenal were in the league then. Obviously Donny Bells, Tranmere Rovers. It's very different to what it is now. I mean, you got the big names obviously in there now, but we had the smaller clubs and the same thing. Like we travelled to games, we're going to minibus. You'd fit like 15 players and 15 bags. Yeah. In a minibus to travel to Tranmere Rovers, which was it was hell. There was no space to breathe. You were just all sitting on top of each other because the bags were taking up 4 seats at the back. It was horrendous circumstances, but you know what, you loved playing and it didn't matter.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's the love of the game, and you just love your sport. You don't know any different at that time, do you? I mean, I think the thing is now, the trick for the young players coming in now who who are clearly talented and go straight into some of these great teams like Man United and Chelsea and stuff, and they have no clue about what that would be like. It would be great to take them in a little time machine and go, have a little bit of this and see what we had to go through.
You were never given a tracksuit. You were never given a bag. Sometimes you actually even rotate the kit. So you I go, Mom, I've got the kit this week.
We did that.
Like those sort of little things, like that made it happen on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's a very, very different world these days. Yeah. Very different. So how old were you when you first played your first proper game, as it were, back then?
Well, I played obviously under 12s in the league, under 14s in the league. When I was 14, that's when I made my first senior appearance. This is the year we won the FA Cup and the League Cup. Yeah. 97, I think that was.
Wow. Who did you beat in the FA Cup? Do you remember?
Wembley.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, Wembley. It was 1-0. Yeah.
I didn't even remember them.
Yeah, Wembley. Well, Hope played for Wembley, didn't she? And
yes. She did. Because she's Brighton. I live in Brighton, so she's a Brighton manager. I'm desperate to get her on my podcast. I haven't managed it yet, but hopefully I will. Hopefully. But she did. Yeah, God, you reminded me now. Blimey. Yeah, it's a heck of a journey. So Was there ever I always ask this question, but was there a pivotal moment for you when you sort of thought, actually, I'm really good at this and I think I can fucking make something of myself out of this game? Or was it, you never really had that moment?
No, I think the turning point was not about obviously me personally, whether I was good enough. It was obviously getting into the senior team quite young and winning my first FA Cup. I mean, we played at Upton Park, I think it was, and there was 3,500 people there. And I think at that moment, getting my hands on that trophy, I was like, oh my God, I want more of this feeling.
Yeah.
I think it was that drove me. It was that winning the trophies and having that adrenaline rush and that feeling of, oh my God, we've just won a trophy.
Yeah.
That absolutely inspired me to want to do it more.
Brilliant. Oh, that's amazing. Because you did during that time, and you won sort of the FA Young Player of the Year a couple of times as well, didn't you?
Yeah. It was a bit of a whirlwind. Everything seemed to move really, really quickly, and I think it was just trying to soak it all up. And I was always one of them, was always quite grounded. I sort of, I wanted to get better, I wanted to improve. I'd learn at any opportunity, and if I turn up to training, I'll turn up there to train. I didn't turn up there to mess about or to be. I turn up there to train, and if I didn't have a good session, I'd go home with the ump. It was like a vicious cycle. I need to have a good session, or and I'd make sure I did, because I didn't want to go with that feeling where I felt like, oh, that weren't great. I didn't know how to rectify it, but
because I think like, this is completely my perspective. I always saw you as a very serious player, as someone very physical, and very driven. I guess that's probably and I don't know you, but just from outside looking in, that's how I saw you. So actually, you describing that about yourself doesn't surprise me, because I think that's the kind of person I thought
I think it was from a young age as well. Obviously, being at Millwall, Jim used to say to us, if you messed about in the session, you were out of the session, get out.
Right.
That was like, you went to train seriously. Otherwise, you weren't training, you were going home. And you just spent all that time getting there on the buses and that sort of stuff. To be sent home would be devastating. So I think that's where I sort of picked it up from. If I'm training properly.
Yeah, awesome. Good work ethic instilled in you.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened after Millwall? Was that Fulham straight after Millwall, or did you go to Charlton?
Yeah, straight to Fulham. Yeah, I went to Fulham. Obviously got offered to become a professional.
Yeah, because that must have been your first pro contract, right? To Fulham.
It was, and it was unbelievable. I think to be asked, to go and sign professionally. I mean, no one's going to turn that down. To do something you absolutely love as a career. Yeah. Especially back then when football, it was an amateur game. It was, it wasn't even semi-pro. It was an amateur game. You sort of paid to play, and you got on with it. So it was tough, because I was at Millwall then, I think 8 years. So obviously leaving a club that I'd grown up in, my trophies in, was a difficult decision. But also, where do I want to take my career? I've got an opportunity to be a professional where, I'm going to improve myself, because I'm going to be training every day, around players that are going to be really, really good. So I chose to, progress my career.
So that's the glory bit, isn't it? Like, you've won all these trophies, FA Young Player of the Year, and then you get your pro contract. But what changed for you getting that pro contract? What did your days look like? Because obviously this show is about what goes on behind being a top athlete. How did your life look? What was your day-to-day life like from then on?
Well, it was great. Obviously, we had a structure. We knew what we were doing. We obviously trained 6 days a week. We trained on a Monday. We had a double session on a Tuesday. Wednesdays was always an off day. Double session again on a Thursday. Trained on Friday. Sort of set pieces on a Saturday, and then played on a Sunday. So it was, we knew what that looked like. And it was so much fun, because you got to play football and to do something you love, and to be around your friends in the end, because you create that bond with new people, and you create new friendships and stuff like that. So to be around great people and do something you love, I mean, no one would say no to that.
And what was life like outside of football? Because I think what I discovered speaking to a few athletes is that there is this bubble within your sport, whether that's an athletics or whatever, and then there's everything else.
Yeah.
Was it like that for you? Did it feel like that?
No, I think I was I enjoyed obviously playing, and then I was always really good at splitting the two, dividing the two. And I think I became better at that when I became a parent. So obviously my last year at Fulham, I got pregnant, I had my first child at 20. and I became better at that. I became better at going and doing my job. And then when I got home, I became mum. So I think for me, it kept me quite sane because I was able to do that. I was able to separate and not take my job home with me.
Yeah.
I did what I needed to do while I was at work, and then when I got home, you know, I could focus and be someone else.
Yeah.
So I think that was quite good for me.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one thing that you've done that, you know, is very tricky to do, you know, have a family and then come back from that and get to that level again. Because obviously, like you say, you're very young when you had your first child.
Yeah.
And you came back. How long did you take out? Like a year, was it? I think. I can't.
I trained, funny enough, I trained all the way through my pregnancy. So because I was at Fulham, I obviously had the aid of a physio there and the doctors and stuff like that who were monitoring me and put me a program together. So I actually trained, I think it was 2 weeks before my due date, which was obviously, I actually trained outside with the girls kicking a ball up to about just before 6 months until my balance sort of became a little bit now, you know. And then I moved into swimming and in the gym on the bike and stuff like that. So I continued to obviously train throughout that, obviously good medical help and attention paid to what I was doing. And that allowed me to get back pretty quickly. After I had my first child, it allowed me to, after my 6 weeks check, I think it was, and they gave me the all clear. I was like, right, I'm ready to go. And
wow, really?
Went from there. And then my mindset switched then. It's like, right, I need to get myself back into club football, and then I need to get myself back into international football. So that was my mindset. I always set myself up like, this is my targets, set myself goals to motivate myself and get myself back.
And I mean, I don't know how it worked back then, because I can't remember who's just signed a pro contract somewhere, but I think it's in America. I think it's Alex Morgan, and she's got this new contract, and you know, there's maternity leave in it, and it's, you know, I think she's got something like 18 months maternity leave in her contract, and I think it was quite groundbreaking for there. How was that work at Fulham? Was that okay at the time? Did you know continue to get paid and maternity leave, and was it all just as it should be?
Paid. Yeah, funny enough, I did continue to get paid, and I think it took as much time as I wanted to take off in the end. So maternity leave, obviously, football is very different, isn't it? To going back to a natural job. I mean, I wanted to get back to playing football because for me, that was sort of my sanity. That was my, that was me. So I think it was driven, obviously, when I was ready to go back, I wanted to go back rather than taking the full lump of maternity leave. So I was obviously paid up to a certain point, and then I sort of returned. Obviously, on my return was then when the pro contract sort of ended. So we went to a semi-pro status, but I played the season, and it was fun.
Oh, cool. So so what happened when then? You say, because you know, for the listeners that might not understand that, so you were pro, but then it went to semi-pro. So what happened there? How did that all play out?
Al put money into Fulham women's team for 3 years in hope that other teams in the league would be able to follow and become professional. Obviously, back then in the game, it wasn't going to happen. There wasn't, enough money within the game. There wasn't enough clubs associated with really good men's club that were thriving, and it just wasn't possible. So I think after that 3 years, once we got to there, then obviously we had to return back to semi-professional basis based on the 3-year program that he'd put in place. Unfortunately, we couldn't progress from, but I think it was good to showcase that part of it, that you can become professional, but it does obviously take a lot of investment into it to get a whole league running.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just not one team.
Yeah.
How so you got taken by Charlton? You went from so I thought it was the other way around. So you went Fulham, Charlton. How long were you at Charlton and Fulham? And think were you
2 years? The funny thing was to that is that I actually lived close to Charlton. So I had my first child, and I wanted to be with my baby. I didn't want to spend loads of time travelling back and forth places. Charlton was actually around the corner, so for me it sort of worked well. 5 minutes to training, I could get back home, because obviously then we were training late, like 8 till 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go to training, be able to get there in 5-10 minutes, train, come home, and then start the next day. So for me, it was great to obviously be in a new club, sort of a different challenge for me as well in that environment, but also be close to home for my first child.
Yeah. Who was manager back then at Charlton?
Keith Bonus. And
right,
Matt Beard, actually, who's the Bristol manager now, was the assistant.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, interesting. So, because then obviously from Charlton you went to the greatest team of the land, Arsenal.
Yeah.
And you did bloody well at Arsenal. You had a good run at Arsenal.
There's a funny story to that too, because obviously when I played for whatever team I played for, we played against Arsenal. Obviously, me and Jane Ludlow were always known for, being quite physical, quite aggressive towards each other. And there was nothing on the pitch. Everything was on the pitch. You always stayed on the pitch.
Yeah.
But for me going to Arsenal, I was terrified. I was thinking, what is she going to think of me? Like, she's either going to 2-foot me in training, or we're either going to get on so well that we create some bond that's going to be unbreakable. And the funny thing was, I got there the first session, and do you know what? She was lovely.
Yeah.
We sort of laughed about the challenges we've done, because she'd give me stud marks on my chest. She'd pulled my hair. I'd given her a few scrapes down the shins and ankles and stuff. So we laughed about all those sort of things that, happened on the pitch but stayed on the pitch. So, and in the end, we created such a great relationship together. Like, we made the midfield in the Arsenal team. Because we got on so well, and we were both so aggressive, and so the way we played,
we dominated that midfield though.
Absolutely, but we were so similar in the way we were, and we were such winners. And I think going into that Arsenal team with so much experience around us and a winning mentality, like oh my God, I learned absolutely new things in that club that I've never known, and to be around such quality players, I mean, absolutely improved me.
Yeah, no, it was great days back then, great days. I mean, you touched on then about that winning mentality, and I talk about winning mindset and winning mentality all the time.
Yeah.
It's a subject I talk a lot about. Do you feel like it was almost like innate in you, or is it something you kind of worked on, to improve?
I think it is. I think within a team environment, I think it's trust in the people around you. And I never, ever doubted any one of our players on the pitch, to their quality. I mean, even if we went behind in games, I'm like, what, we'll be all right here, because we've got enough, quality within this team. We've got the winning mentality, and we pushed and pushed and pushed, and we would never, ever go down without a fight. I think it was, I think I was just brought into that. I think I had it anyway, but I was brought into that where there was so many more of them that were exactly the same.
Yeah.
And mindset that made us, it's just an unbelievable team.
Yeah. Incredible team, incredible times, quadruple and all of that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What obviously I can't remember the ages between your children. So obviously you had your first child when you were very young, 20. How old were you when you had your second child, and where were you playing?
Last one. Let's see, Riley's 12 now. So what was that, 90? What would that have been? He's 12. 2000.
Where are we?
2008. Sorry,
2008. Yeah, 2008.
2008. I had him at Arsenal. I was at Arsenal. Well, at my second. Yeah, I was at Arsenal. Funny enough, because I was training, and I remember the girls used to be terrified. I'm like, look, I'm fine. I'm playing games great, because no one could tackle me, so it's brilliant. I scored plenty of goals because no one could come even near me. But yeah, the girls always say they was terrified out of their life. Something was going to happen, or get her. Or
I can imagine.
It is, you've got to be sensible. And I think I was always sensible in that situation. And then I had my third one in 2013.
Yeah. So what one was hardest to come back from? Because you've come back from all of them, which...
Oh, I'd say my last one, to be quite honest.
Really?
Because I got that bit older. I was that bit older, then in my 30s. After my second one, I mean, I think I was the fittest I've ever been.
Really?
Which is really weird, because obviously looked into the research of that, and obviously your hemoglobin and stuff like your ability to carry oxygen obviously goes up by about 50%.
Wow.
So if you think that goes up anyway with just carrying a baby, exercising while carrying a baby, I'm making my body work even harder.
Yeah.
So really interesting. And I came back, and I remember doing a fitness test, and I think I was like the second highest, and I was like, how the hell have I just done that? Like, I've just had a baby not long ago. How the hell have I done that?
I never knew that. And
it was unbelievable. But I think, the older you get, the harder it is. I mean, obviously it's changing, everything's a little bit harder the older you get. But you know what? I pushed myself through it.
Yeah, just keen to get back.
Yeah, just loved playing football. And I think having the breaks, obviously having my children, gave me, the hunger as well to get back to play. Because sometimes you can play football for a long, long time, and it becomes a little bit like, I think having them break away from football gave me the hunger to come back and want to be better and want to keep progressing.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you like with your third, because obviously you, like you say, you're in your 30s then, Was there ever any doubt that you were going to come back? Was it always just, yeah, no, I'm going back, and there was no question of it?
I think being pregnant is always a question. I mean, you don't know how it's going to go. You don't know what complications you're going to face within that. You don't know what it's going to look like after, how your body reacts and all that sort of stuff. So there's always a worry in the back of your mind, I think, of those things. I think for me, my pregnancies, I was lucky enough that they were quite straightforward. I kept myself fit throughout them, which allowed me to get back quicker. And yeah, all three sort of went to plan and allowed me to continue doing what I was doing, and continue on my journey. So I know it's not always straightforward for everybody. So.
No.
You know, for me, I was lucky.
No, it's really interesting. I was really keen to talk to you about, you know, having the children, because, you know, there is a bit of talk in the media about, you know, women having children and then coming back to, you know, to play at such a high level, which you've done 3 times, which is fascinating. You know, we talk about Serena Williams coming back from tennis, and there's a few tennis players, and you know, how tough it must be, but actually for you it's sort of like
it became normal.
Yeah, it's just like, well, yeah, it's all right. It was all right.
You know, it's so nice to hear so many more women talking about it, about having children and coming back to play again and coming back to, you know, the level they want to be at. Because you know what? It's not impossible.
No.
And there's always a taboo where when you're pregnant, you shouldn't exercise and that sort of stuff. Like, and yes, you have to be careful. And yes, you have to your doctors and your midwives and stuff like that to get the clearance that you're okay to do it and, you know, keep yourself safe. But you know what, it's good for you mentally, and it's also good for the baby too. You know, it's good for your body to keep you in the right mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, being physical is all about the mindset for me. You know, I talk about that all the time, about, you know, moving. Our bodies are designed to move, whether you're an athlete or not, whatever level, you know, whether that's walking, you know, every day or whatever you floats your boat. It's just so important for our mindset and giving us clarity of thought. But it's really good to hear your experiences, and you know, that actually you can do this. You can be a mother and come back and you know, be even fitter. And you know, but it's just so good to hear those stories, and I really do want to speak to more women that you know have had children and come back to do whatever their sport is at a high level. You know, Serena Williams won the Australian Open, I think it was, while she was pregnant. Obviously no one knew. She knew. It's incredible, you know.
You know, it's a big deal because there's so much that happens to your body throughout pregnancy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big deal, and it's actually dangerous having a baby. You know, like it's not just something you sort of dismiss. It's actually, you know, it's a lot for us.
Yeah.
And to be able to come back after that is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I don't know anyone else that's done it 3 times. I'm sure there is, but I don't know that person. So if anyone listening to this knows, then please let me know, because that's one of the reasons I was keen to have you on. It was just like, because I know that you've got 3 kids and have come back from it. I just think it's incredible, really, and to have the drive and determination as well to do it. You know, you spent a year, I think, in the States, right? Was it a year?
Chicago.
Yeah. So where were you? Had you had 2 kids by that point, or
2 kids by that point? Yeah, one was 1.5. He turned 2, funny enough, Riley, over there in 2010. That was. Yeah, it was hard. I think for me, obviously, that I didn't want to turn down that experience because I wanted to go and do it. I think I'd have regretted if I'd have turned it down. Experience that. So I went over and experienced. Yes, it was hard. Obviously, taking a family over there, being quite isolated in a new country, you know, a new team and stuff like that. I found that quite difficult, being away from my family. But I made it work. Obviously, I was here for a season. It was a great experience for the kids to be experienced in another country, really, and a, you know, way of life. And it was a great experience. I think experiencing the league over there, I mean, it's, you know, fitness for them is massive. I'm grateful enough I was actually quite fit, doing quite well. But yeah, it was a fun experience. It was something I don't regret at all.
How did that come about? Or did they just scout you? And
well, Emma Hayes, who obviously is a Chelsea manager now, we've experienced obviously a lot of teams together. She was at Arsenal when I was there. She was an assistant coach. Then she went over obviously to Chicago and she ran that team. Karen Carney also went over there from Arsenal.
Yes.
She went over there from Arsenal first season, and then I was asked for the second season to go.
Yeah, there was someone else there as well. I can't think who it is now. No, it's gone now. Can't think of it, but I remember actually. Yeah, that's really interesting. I forgot it was Emma that was there, and yeah, interesting. So you don't regret doing that, even though it was just a season.
No, and do you know what? I wish I could have stayed there longer. But the hard thing about the league out there is that you can get traded at any point. And I
Right.
think me having a family, and sitting there thinking, oh my God, I could be traded to whatever state, that was quite hard as well. Because you'd see teams like players in your team, and then they'd be there one day, and the next time, like, oh, they've been traded to so and so. And
Oh,
you'd be like,
right.
like, and they'd be gone just like that. She was a bit like, hang on a minute. And I think for me, it also was like, hang on a minute, if I get traded, I'm moving my kids from one place to another, to a different school, to, and that it's quite hard.
It was a big move to move your whole family over and do that, and then think, oh, am I going to be here next week? Or
It's
dealing
hard.
with that mentally is quite tough, I should imagine.
Yeah, and a lot of the travelling between games. I mean, you're obviously flying between a lot of games and stuff like that as well. So that was hard too, like travel time and flying, and it was a lot.
Much bigger country to
Yes.
get yourself around. No minibuses. What was the setup like back then? Because we're talking like, obviously that was about 10, 11 years ago. And I know they're sort of trying to change the game and grow the game even more out there.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like back then, a decade ago? Obviously Emma was there.
Yeah.
Was that your first experience of working under Emma?
No, she was the assistant at Arsenal, so I'd already known.
Oh, of course,
Yeah, I knew her from Arsenal. The year we won the quadruple, but no, it was. Do you know what? It was good out there. I mean, obviously they'd set the league up. They did it a couple of times before where it folded, obviously with the investments and stuff like that into the league. And I think they were sort of learning how to, build it and develop it and that sort of stuff. So I sort of went over there when, it was good. It was one of the leagues that everyone wanted to play in. You had all different investors into the clubs. So I think it was quite hard, and then they started to bring in obviously players from Europe and around the world into the thing. And then everything obviously costs more then. Players in from different nationalities and countries. And obviously the year I left, it obviously folded. I think the following year it ended up collapsing again. So I think I would have had to come home anyway. But hopefully now they've got it the right way. They sort of set it up and they're building. What I think for us, it's taken a long time to get our game to where it is. But I think I always say, as long as we keep progressing, and even if that is bit by bit, like, don't expect leaps and bounds all of the time, just keep progressing and build it in the right way, that we build a structure that is going to stay there. It's something that's not, on sand, it's going to sink or it's thing. Just build the structure and then we can continue to keep building on it, because, if you go in all, you throw the money, you get everyone coming in and that it just, you've got to get stability first before anything else.
Absolutely. You've got to do, I talk about that stuff for ourselves on a personal level. That's what you do for yourself. Find your ground zero, find your foundation, your base camp, and then build from there. Sadly, a lot of us, we live in a world where we think the outside affects the inside when it's the other way around. And if we do that in a bit, find out who we are and understand who we are, then you can really understand who you can be, and then you can go and fulfill that potential. And it works in so many, you can use it in so many parts of your life and in business. So it makes total sense. Do you think you wouldn't have gone if it hadn't been for Emma?
I'd always like to have gone. Whether I would have got the opportunity to go, I don't know. Obviously Emma knew me as a player, had that experience of me and felt that I'd fit into the team that she was building over there. So who knows? Who knows?
You don't know, do you?
No.
So let's touch on Chelsea. We're better at what your days at Chelsea, and obviously that's where you retired. So was it 2017, 18? I think you retired.
Okay,
yeah. What was that experience like for you?
It was a great experience. Fun enough. I needed a new challenge. I think we've been at Arsenal. I think there was a few, obviously, players leaving that season that I left. And I felt like I needed something new, something different to get my teeth into. And obviously, Emma was at Chelsea, building the team there. And I felt like I wanted to be part of that build and experience new things. And the funny thing was, she asked me to be captain when I came over to the club. And I was a little bit like, I've been sort of captain at Arsenal, and it was quite different there, where you was just captain. You went out and did you didn't do much more than that, because it was sort of semi-professional. You didn't do much more than that. You wore the armband, you led by example and that sort of stuff. she asked me to be the captain. I was like, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if I'm ready sort of to do that. Can you give me a little bit of time to think about it? So I took a bit of time. I was like, do you know what? Actually, I will do it because it might help me progress as a person.
Yeah.
So I was always quite shy, lacked a little bit of confidence.
Really?
It's fine. Go on the pitch, no problem. Yeah, I was one of them in a meeting. If you wanted to ask me a question, I'd want to get under the table. Well, fast as I can out the door.
Yeah, on the
But
football
feel
pitch,
myself
though.
like,
Yeah.
put the eyes on me and like,
No.
yeah, made me wilt.
Yeah.
So the fourth, being a captain of, a great team, I think, oh my God. But I took the opportunity, and to be fair, it did help me. It helped me grow as a person and as a leader, and I had a lot of learnings. It brought me out of my shell because I had to speak more. I had to lead meetings. I had to do that sort of stuff, and I learned to become a real captain. So it was a great personal experience for me. And I think, seeing that, obviously that team progress and develop, and the players coming in and out, and it was just improving continuously, season after season, and becoming really, really successful. I think being the captain as well and leading the girls out in Wembley, made history at Wembley for the first female team to play there, was an absolute highlight of my career as well. And to put my hands on that trophy, in such a big stadium, in front of such a big crowd, I mean, it was unbelievable. I never ever will forget it. But I think, you just progress, and you've seen how the team's progressed. I mean, you look at the team now. Oh my
Amazing.
goodness, absolutely frightening.
It is frightening.
I watch them, I'm like, they're just so good. They're so good from back to front. They've just got players off the bench. They can point. You take one off, and if you was playing against, you'd be like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
They've taken one player off, but they've brought someone on with just as much quality as that person.
Yeah.
She's built something. I mean, it's taken a while to get to that point, but she's built a fantastic team.
Yeah, but she's, they've been doing great. They've been doing amazing. And, I watched, was it yesterday played or Saturday? I can't remember now what day of week it is. But they just, Kirby and Kerr, just like, that partnership is incredible. But you're right, they've got an incredible team there. They really, really have. There's no denying it. What she's built there is phenomenal. But she knows exactly what she wants, what she expects. It's kind of a no nonsense kind of lady is the impression that I get.
And it takes time to build a team, it doesn't just happen. You can be a good team, but to make a great team, and get to where you want to get to, it takes time, and it takes time to build and to generate that cohesion between the team, and build a culture that everyone buys into, and and that's what she's done. She's got to that point now where I think she's there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just golden right now. It absolutely is golden. What I just want to touch on your sort of England career as well. I can't sort of, not let you talk about that and the impact that had on you. When did you get your first call up for England?
Funny enough, I did, when Ted Copeland was the manager there, I did get a letter at 16 to ask me to go to England camp. I think at that point I was terrified. I was thinking, I'm not ready just yet to sort of make that move. I was only 16, and I think all the players that were there were quite senior, and I was a bit like, not quite sure yet. But when I was obviously 17, I was called in. I played in the under 18s, obviously. They got called in when I was 17. I made my debut at 17, which was another big moment. Obviously quite young, playing in a team with so much experience. I think my first game I played alongside Mo Marley.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which and I think Jill Coulthard came off for me to go on in the centre back position. So it was like, hang on, it was quite daunting. But I think even then, once I found my feet, I sort of made my name in the team, which was, and I played in my first European Championships in 2001, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I played every game, so it was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy how quickly I sort of got my feet. A
couple of World Cups as well. You played in, didn't you? Did you play in 2 World Cups?
2 World Cups, yeah. It's been and I obviously took a 4-year period out before the World Cup in 2015 in Canada, when Mark Sampson called me back into the team, which is another mental moment. I thought I was done. Then all of a sudden like about 6 months before the World Cup, I get a phone call to come into training again, and I get named in the team to the squad to go and play in the World Cup. So it was all I've had really pinnacle moments within my career, and there's always highs and lows and stuff like that, but I've always remained quite positive throughout, and sometimes it buys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Attitude is everything, and that probably, maybe brings us more onto the mindset stuff, because that's obviously a lot of stuff what I do. And I'm not a sports psychologist. I'm not the kind of person that's going to come along and in crisis. I help people kind of do the preventative stuff, the day in, day out mindset stuff, working on yourself stuff, personal development, so that actually, hopefully, you don't have, a crisis, or you manage yourself better in games, off pitch and on pitch, improving both sides of your life. What's that kind of been like for you? Is it something that just is naturally there? And I know we touched on it a little bit, but in terms of sort of managing yourself and your personal growth, because attitude is a big thing in life, no matter what you do. Your mindset is everything. If you don't have peace of mind, then, to be honest with you, everything can be a mess. So how has that been for you? Is there support with that at any point in your career, and how do you see things now in the game?
I think for me, obviously, I've always had my family around me. So times of struggle, I'd have my family and friends to talk to or to go to. There's obviously always been club support there if need be. I think mindset, you set your mind. It is about managing it. I think it is. I think mindset is about, you focus on what you want to do. But if there is a step back, or there's, something that affects what you are doing, how you do that and how you manage it, I think it's having that structure, isn't it? And that tools in your bag, that you can manage certain things, and how to manage it personally, or if someone else knows how to manage it for you. There might be something that someone could say that switches you in a different direction, or changes the way you're thinking about something. But it is important. I think for me, obviously within football, my mindset was always good. I was always there, high or low. I knew who I was. I had my identity. I had football. I always said that football was my outlet. I enjoyed playing it. I could switch off and that was who I was when I was at football.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Then I could be home and be mum and be a different person. But I think it's important that you have that identity. I think retiring for me, obviously, I struggled a bit because I sort of felt like I lost that identity. I didn't have football anymore, which was my part, my identity. I've still got my children, which I love to death, but I lost me in all of it. I became mum and I didn't have anything else. So I was like, so it's taken a while, obviously, to find that, and I'm still obviously developing that. But I completely understand why people, sort of lose the way a little bit, because you go from being a professional athlete to, someone everyone wants to know you, and you're in the limelight a lot and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, hang on a minute, I'm not in a team environment. I'm not around all them people anymore all of the time. I'm not doing what I know I have to do, and I'm familiar with that. And then you sort of feel a little bit alone in all of it. You're like, hang on a minute, where am I going to go? From here. And there's not always a straight path to go. There's not always something up for what is next. And they say to you, get ready for, and all that sort of stuff. But sometimes, you get lost in all of it, and you get lost along the way, and you have to figure that out after. And it takes a little bit of a process, to get to that point.
How's that journey been for you to figure that out? Because I think that's you make a really good point. Like I said, I think earlier on when we first started, that is something, identity, and it's good to hear you saying that you actually who you are. Like I did a talk at an international association on a week ago, young footballers, and I was talking about that, saying you are not football, you are not a footballer, you are Jack Jones or whoever. You have to know who you are as a human being. Football is something you do. Your performance isn't your identity. It doesn't make you X, Y, Z. And for you, it sounds like actually you're quite lucky, because you kind of get that, and you got that from the beginning. Football was your outlet, but sadly there are many athletes, top athletes, that's how they define themselves, as a footballer, a cricketer, a tennis player, and you can get very lost in that. And life can become pretty tricky outside of your sport. But for you, like I say, it sounds like you had your feet on the ground and you kind of got it.
I think I had, because I also didn't just have football, I had my children. As I said, they were, then my focus went into them and their football until I sort of found where I needed to be. So I went through football, but through them. Because because obviously I didn't have mine. But yeah, I think it is important that you still have your own identity, whether you're a mum, you're an athlete, I think it still has to be, you have to find you and know what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's like I said before, if you can understand who you are as a human being and have that self-awareness and work on that throughout your life, then that holds you in better stead for actually being a better performer on the pitch. And that's the bit that I talk about and do work around is, who are you as a person, as a human being? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? What are your values?
Yeah.
Understanding your strengths and your weaknesses and evaluating that and being agile, emotionally agile. Because when you can get your shit together outside of the game or the pitch or whatever, actually fundamentally you'll be a better player. Like you were an awesome player, but actually you didn't see yourself as just a footballer. You weren't just like, I'm a footballer and nothing else.
Yeah.
No, this is me. I'm this person, and these things make up me. Yeah. Football is just one of them. And you were still an amazing, awesome player that's got this glorious career. And I think that's a really great example to lots of young athletes coming through in whatever sport that actually know who you are. Yeah. Know who you are as a human being, and you will excel, and your potential to excel is probably even greater.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think the biggest thing I miss is obviously adrenaline, the highs and the lows of it, like, whereas now you sort of given up and you sit in the middle. Yeah. And I never want to be in the middle. I want to be high, I want to be low. I don't want to be sitting because that's a boring place to be.
So how do you manage it then? How do you manage it now you've retired?
Because I still, obviously I've got my kids to watch and I love watching them, like that adrenaline rush, seeing them play and develop and helping them in their little path. For me is amazing. I think for me, I still play. I play with a load of men, funny enough, in a niner side.
Oh, do you? A niner side?
Physical, the physical battle and stuff like that. And it's funny because even when I started first playing in this team, obviously the guy that invited me obviously knew who I was, but the rest of them really didn't. So going in that environment, it's, when they look at you thinking, well, within 5 minutes, I changed because I think I'd kicked a few of them. I changed their mindset, their thought of what they thought about me. To see their faces change.
I love it.
Oh my God, she means it. Yeah, I mean it. I ain't here to make up the numbers. So you make it so ready, get your shin pads on. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I love it. I've been put in that situation where they all look at you like, I'm like, give me 5 minutes.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I wish I'd been there with a camera. It would have been brilliant.
It's brilliant. It is. It made me laugh hard.
Oh, brilliant. So you playing that? Oh, obviously with the.
I'm in the group now. I'm in the group. I've made it.
You made it. You made it after 10 minutes. 10 minutes, you're in. You're captain. You're coaching.
I've made it. Yeah, I've made the WhatsApp group.
Brilliant. Oh, you've made the WhatsApp group. That's it. You're done.
What? Yeah, you go on there. It's brilliant.
I love that. What's your sort of aspirations going forward? Because obviously, like I say, you're an ambassador for Chelsea. Are you still around the Chelsea team and Emma and stuff and much, or how does it? You like it?
Obviously, because of COVID, no, I haven't really had a lot to do. In going into Cobham or Stamford Bridge, but I'm hoping to get back to all that sort of stuff, and hoping to get back into the primary schools as well. Joining the programs. I've done a few Zoom bits over the COVID stuff with children and primary schools. There's one actually school that went back we did last week, which was a educational project about resilience, stuff like that. I'm actually doing a personal training course because I'd like to do pre and postnatal.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, awesome.
So that's what I'd really like to get into, because I know the struggles of that. I know how how hard it is, and that a lot of women struggle with that sort of stuff. And I think sometimes personal experience means more than anything else.
For sure.
Like I've been through it, I've done it. I know how the body works. I know how you feel. I know how pregnancy makes you feel. And I have an understanding of all of that. So that's what I'm trying to pursue at the moment.
No, that's amazing. I think you're absolutely right about that. Whole personal experience counts for everything. That, like I'm known as the real life coach because it's about real life and my real life experiences and my personal growth and personal development. It's all stuff that I've learned through experience as well as some studying and all of that. And I think that you're absolutely right. That personal level that you can bring to it, nobody really cares about the certificate on the wall. They care about.
If you haven't experienced it, how do you know? How can you tell me? If you haven't experienced, that's like someone trying to tell you about your children when they haven't got children.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you know? What, from reading? Like, unless you have personal experience, then, it's valuable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you not think you'll ever want to sort of do a bit of coaching and stuff?
Do you know what the funny thing is? I've never been one for coaching. It's really funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not actually football mad, which
No.
sounds crazy. You know, like I'm not like I enjoy football. I love playing football. I enjoy watching odd games of football and stuff like that. And people, when I say that to people, they're like, "Really?" Like, yeah. I'm not really football mad,
No. Well,
which
fair
is
enough.
crazy. But you know,
Yeah, fair
no,
enough.
coaching's never been. I mean, I tried to coach my children, but you know, they say don't coach your own kids because they don't listen, and that's very true.
Yeah, no, it's true. Kids and animals just don't do it. Don't do it. I was pretty nervous about speaking to these young footballers on last week, like I said, but they're sort of not kids. They're just sort of just crossing over into the adulthood, and yeah. But actually, they were all right. But any younger than that, yeah, like oh, no, awesome. All right, I'm really conscious of time, Katie, but couple of questions. I guess it would be nice for the listeners is just about, I guess, who you are, you know, away from football and sport, and you know, obviously you're a mum. You've got 3 boys. That keeps you pretty busy. What sort of things do you enjoy doing and getting up to?
Obviously, enjoying going out, sitting in the pub garden when we were allowed to sit in the pub garden. A lot of that throughout my career, with parties and pubs and you know all that sort of stuff. So I'm gonna enjoy that once we get back out of this COVID stuff. I enjoy doing nice things, going to the park, you know, the cinema. I love shopping. You know, just the normal. I don't need nothing extravagant. I'm dying for a holiday.
Yes,
I'm dying for.
What's your ideal location then? If you could go anywhere in the world,
I've always wanted to go to the Maldives. Always.
Okay, yeah.
But I think because of this COVID stuff, I'd love to take my kids to Florida.
Nice.
Yeah. Love to. Yeah. Big holiday in Florida and do all the theme parks, I think.
Yeah, it's a good one. Done that. Took my kids when they were little. Yeah, definitely do that. Get that on the list.
I mean, I took my first 2, but Riley was quite young. But obviously Zachary's not being, so I'd like to go with all of them.
Yeah.
And they're at age now where they'll take it all in. So
nice.
Do that.
Awesome. Well, Katie, honestly, I have got like I don't think I've even asked half of my questions. But I'm conscious. No, not at all. It's probably me talking too much. So I might have to get you back on another time. When you get your PT certifications, then maybe get you back on. And
hopefully
talk about
soon.
that.
I was trying to do it for like lockdown, and obviously with homeschooling and stuff like that, it was I'll concentrate. I couldn't get my head into it.
Take
so now I'll nail it and
get it done. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Katie,
for
coming along. I really appreciate it.
Fun.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Thanks so much.
All right, take care.
You've been listening to the Real Life Sports Show. I hope you found some value and joy in this podcast. If you have, then please tell someone else about it. And also, while you're at it, why not leave me a 5-star review? Also, you can share it on your socials. You'll find me mostly on Instagram at Sam Adams Coach. You can also check me out at my website, sam-adams.com. Send any comments or any interest in coaching or speaking to my Instagram. Just drop me a DM. I look at all my messages and I respond to every single one of them.